Drug-related deaths have been more common than not in certain communities. One drug, fentanyl, is a prescription painkiller, but can be 50 to 100 times stronger than heroin or morphine. It's been linked with numerous unintentional overdoses.
Today we're here because there's a fentanyl crisis in Santa Clara County. Fentanyl is causing a rising number of deaths, particularly among 18 to 25-year-olds.
Chavez said the county examiner reports that in 2019, there were 29 deaths from fentanyl, and that number increased to 135 deaths in 2021. She said there are already 8 deaths this year.
Because of the urgency, Santa Clara County has quickly established a fentanyl working group of experts to coordinate and increase the county's efforts to combat fentanyl.
She said the group will also develop a social media campaign. Members include Supervisor Chavez herself, the county's district attorney, and several other experts or those who've been impacted by fentanyl.
We also hope to implement a fentanyl advisement that warns fentanyl dealers about the dangers of fentanyl and that they could be prosecuted for murder if they do it again. We do all this for one reason and one reason only: to prevent as many families from suffering the loss of a loved one.
One father said his son was a victim who was about to turn 18 years old.
Linus had actually taken a pill that he thought was a Percocet, but it was actually laced and it contained a lethal dose of fentanyl. When we found him in his bed, it was actually already too late at that point.
He said the paramedics couldn't do anything to save him. Another member said there's an issue of fentanyl being found in drugs on the streets used at parties, and hopes to understand the dynamics of the younger generation. According to the county website, many drug dealers mix the much cheaper fentanyl into other drugs like heroin, cocaine, ecstasy, and meth to increase profits. Fentanyl has even been detected in cannabis in some parts of the U.S. The supervisor says the group will hold their first meeting on April 15th. David Lamb, NTD News, California. California's June primaries and November midterm elections are quickly approaching. 14 Republican candidates met at a Meet the Candidates forum to talk about issues they believe matter most to California voters. The candidates are vying for governor, secretary of state, attorney general, and the U.S. Senate. Here's a special in-depth report from NTD's Cynthia Kai on what the candidates are saying.
An estimated 250 people showed up for the Meet the Candidates Forum, hosted by Pat Nixon Republican Women Federated in Yorba Linda on March 24th. One of the event organizers, Sky Jones, said many of the candidates at the forum were business owners.
Because there's so many, so we can't divide the vote. We need to come together and say, that is the best candidate. That person is the one that we need to follow.
This year, Governor Gavin Newsom's seat is up for election. Prospective candidates promised to push back against everything, from crime and political indoctrination in K-12 schools to solving the problem of homelessness, and to the exodus of people and businesses from the state.
They tell us why they leave when they leave. They say, we leave because we don't feel safe here anymore. We leave because we don't think our kids can get a great education, and we either have to homeschool them or put them in a school somewhere where our kids are valued. And we leave because we worry that if we invest in California, there will not be a future here because people are thinking too short term. And so what people want more than anything is just somebody to work for them.
Layla Rowe is a businesswoman from Redding. She promised to bring back balance and work for the people, including helping to get homeless people off the streets.
We need to unlock a human-centric model that helps the taxpayers pay less, that cleans our streets, and that actually is more humane for our homeless as well.
At the forum, candidates were Jenny Ray LaRoe, Sean Collins, David Lozano, Daniel Mercury, Christian Morales, Leo Zaki, and Major Williams. Like the governor, Secretary of State Shirley Weber's seat is also up for election. The Secretary of State oversees California's elections and business filings.
We don't have transparency in our elections. We have a huge problem where the majority of Americans believe that we do not have honest elections. Whether that's true or not, it's a problem that if they're believing it, that's a problem, right? And so I want to bring back transparency.
Ham is an author from Fresno and the sole candidate for Secretary of State at the forum. She advocated for one-day voting, all paper ballots with a hand count, smaller voter precincts, and voter ID.
So there's things that we need to fix in the business filings, and there's definitely things we need to fix in the election system. And I think that if we do that, we can really make California what it should be, which is the greatest state in the nation.
Likewise, another seat up for election is the Attorney General's seat. The Attorney General is the state's top law enforcement and legal officer. One candidate, Eric Early, criticized incumbent Rob Bonta's progressive policies on crime.
While he's saying we're going to give more money to fight crime, he supports Proposition 47, which lets you steal up to $9.50 at a shot and nothing happens. He will not publicly come out and support our brave men and women of law enforcement. He supports opening our prison cells and letting the felons run free.
Early also promised to fight to restore election integrity and denounced the state's attempts to implement critical race theory.
This is full-on brainwashing. We got to get our kids' brains back, and I'll do everything I can to make sure that we stop this indoctrination from going on.
Eric Early and Nathan Hochman were the two Attorney General candidates at the forum. And finally, two candidates at the forum are competing for the chance to run against Democratic incumbent U.S. Senator Alex Padilla.
There's so many bills that are enabling pedophiles, that are enabling child molesters, and that are trying to put more toxins in our kids and take choice away from parents.
Dr. Williams is a chiropractor and former U.S. Marine. He said his campaign focuses on medical freedom and exposing the collateral damage of the COVID-19 pandemic.
And when big government or state government tries to step into our living rooms, our family rooms, and our homes and dictate to us how to raise our kids, we're not in America anymore. We don't have a republic anymore.
The other candidate was Sarah Sun Liu, who professed her passion for America and traditional ways. She is an entrepreneur and pastor. The forum held a mock vote. Jenny Ray LaRoe won the secret ballot for governor, followed by Sean Collins. Early won the popular vote for Attorney General, and Williams garnered the most votes for the U.S. Senate. California's primary election is on June 7th, and November 8th is the U.S. midterm election. Cynthia Kai, NTD News, California.
A retired police officer was sentenced to jail this week for a multi-million-dollar fraud scheme. The man, along with his wife, conducted insurance fraud through his private security company.
Robert Foster, a former police officer, was sentenced to 3 years in jail for using a side security business to commit millions of dollars in insurance fraud, money laundering, tax evasion, and worker exploitation. In January, the 48-year-old of Morgan Hill was charged for 173 acts of conspiring to commit $1.13 million in insurance fraud and $18 million in money laundering to cover it up. Foster owns Atlas Private Security, now Genesis Private Security, with his wife. She also pleaded no contest to the same insurance fraud and money laundering charges. The San Jose Police Department did not know he owned a business. The Fosters illegally reduced their workers' compensation insurance premiums and taxes by reporting inaccurate payroll, underreporting headcount, paying employees off the books, and underreporting employee injuries. They did not pay their employees for overtime and dissuaded employees from accurately reporting wage theft violations. District Attorney Jeff Rosen said, "No one is above accountability for illegally trying to make a profit on the backs and injured bodies of their workers." When Foster finishes his jail sentence, he will also serve 2 years of mandatory supervision. His wife will be sentenced to 1 year in county jail and 5 years of probation on April 29th.
Speaking of limited water, the state of California is looking to pay farmers to not plant thousands of acres of land as part of a $2.9 billion plan. The goal is to help restore the habitat in one of North America's largest estuaries. State, federal officials, and several water agencies signed the agreement on Tuesday, which would result in 35,000 acres of rice fields left unused. According to the California Rice Commission, this is about 6% of California's annual crop. The Bay Delta Water Quality Control Plan aims at letting more water flow through the state's major rivers and streams. This, combined with other measures, can increase water flow through the Sacramento-San Joaquin River Delta up to an extra 824,000 acre-feet of water per year. 1 acre-foot of water is more than 325,000 gallons, usually enough to supply 2 households a year. Some environmental groups are in opposition. The Associated Press reported that, according to Doug Obeji, a senior attorney for the Natural Resources Defense Council, the extra water would be about half of what state regulators previously said was needed to fully protect the environment. The agreement was negotiated privately between the Newsom administration and some of the state's biggest water agencies, AP reports. The funds will come from state and federal governments and the water agencies. A new theme park is now open in Southern California. It's based on the long-running children's TV show Sesame Street.
Muppets like Elmo, Big Bird, and Cookie Monster have become cultural icons around the world. The colorful characters roam the streets of the new theme park, interacting with children and taking part in a grand parade.
We're really excited to welcome kids of all ages and their families to this great park. There's truly something for everyone to do here. One of the things I like about it is being able to come here with your family and you can all experience the rides together. You can experience the show together. You can experience the parade. The park, you may not know, is also a certified autism center. So we welcome everyone to come out to the park and have a great time.
The park features 18 Sesame Street-themed rides and water attractions, including a roller coaster, wave pool, and lazy river. The park is the first Sesame place on the West Coast. The first is in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Aimed at preschoolers, the Sesame Street TV show has won more than 150 Emmy Awards and is broadcasted in some 140 nations.